Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back to my kitchen. Today, I'm going to be making a recipe for shrimp that has a batter around it that self-inflates. It's called balloon shrimp. The recipe comes from Table Diary. I'll put a link down below. I want to test this because it self-inflates. It puffs up like a balloon with the shrimpy inside. It looks gorgeous and beautiful. It reminds me of those, did you ever get those toys? I think they were called Balloonies or something. It looked like a little tube of toothpaste, but when you opened it, it smelled like solvent. And it was often orange and had a really soft kind of gummy texture. And it came with a little tiny straw, usually pink or orange. You put a little bit of that gummy stuff on the end and then you blew into it and it would make this really thin, transparent balloon. And they were super fun and super easy to make. And these little shrimp look a lot like that in terms of the kind of free-form puffing action that happens. And it looks absolutely lovely. I love shrimp deep fried, especially. I love anything deep fried pretty much. This recipe looks so beautiful. I have to try it. And big thanks to all of my beautiful lovelies who got in touch with me via social media to share this recipe with me and say, Emmy, please make this. I want to see if it works. So here we are. Alrighty, so the first thing we need to do is prepare our shrimp. And these are previously frozen shrimp that I thawed in some water and they're already peeled and deveined. I didn't look at the package carefully. I would have preferred to have my shrimp with the tail on, but these do not. The shrimp will taste exactly the same with or without the tails, although I love chewing on the crispy tails when you have deep fried shrimp. Love the tails, but sadly these do not have tails. But we're still gonna make this recipe. And I've blotted them with some paper towel to make sure that they are dry. Whenever you are deep frying, water and oil do not mix. It is very dangerous. Water will explode in your cooking oil and it is bad. So make sure everything is dry. Plus it'll make the batter stick onto the shrimp better if the shrimp are nice and dry. Next we need to season the shrimp. I'm gonna use some salt and pepper. This is pepper. Put on the pepper first. A good amount of kosher salt. Sprinkled all over. Alrighty, so shrimp are prepared. I'm gonna set these aside. Next, we're gonna make the batter. So in a bowl, we're gonna combine some ingredients. Oh, do you love the shirt? This is an old shirt of mine. It's itadakimasu. This is the Google auto translate of itadakimasu, which means let's eat, let's enjoy this meal, give thanks in Japanese. It's a phrase I picked up when I was living there, and to this day, I say it before eating every meal. I love it so much. I love the sentiment of giving thanks before you eat. So that's what I say. A lot of you by this point know, but for those of you that don't, that's what I say. Itadakimasu. And this is the Google translation of that. Itadakimasu. Please don't go to Japan and say this because this is nonsense, but it's funny. So you can wear it as a shirt, but don't say it in Japan because then you just look silly. Alrighty, back to making a batter. I'm going to combine some cornstarch. Now this recipe is a Korean one from my understanding, so all the measurements are in grams. So if you don't have a kitchen scale already, I highly recommend getting one. They're so helpful, really, really great and important actually when following baking recipes in particular. So that was some cornstarch and some potato starch, and now this is some cake flour. You can also use all-purpose flour. Cake flour has a little less protein than all-purpose flour, so it's really great for light cakes. Baking powder, that'll help with the poofing. So we need 3 egg whites. This is my favorite method for separating eggs. Crack the egg into a bowl and use your impeccably clean hands, as Julia would say, and take out the yolk. I've tried plenty of gadgets, and while a lot of them are really fun to use, I've used one that looks like a snot dripping out of a person's nose. I've used an egg sucker-upper that looks like a chicken. And while they're very novel and fun to use, I find I don't like cleaning them, and this is just so much easier and faster. And I always have my hands with me, thankfully. Now back to the dry ingredients. I'm gonna give these a little whisk here to get everything incorporated. Water and some oil. This has already been measured as well. our 3 egg whites. Bloop. And that's our batter. Very, very simple. When I saw the thumbnail of this video, it reminded me of shrimp that my family's restaurant had. And I remember sometimes I would get one from my auntie. She would give me a shrimp and they were the best. Deep fried puffy shrimp. And after talking to my dad on the phone, he said that there were eggs in that recipe. So I think that's what helped give him that kind of puffiness, and baking powder as well. But the crust was not nearly as thin and as transparent as the one shown in this video. The addition of oil I found is very interesting. I've never used this much oil in a batter recipe. And it's about 2 inches of vegetable oil here. I've also got a baking tray with a rack lined with a bit of paper towel. The temperature for the oil for deep frying usually is about 325 to 375, depending on what you're frying. The recipe does not give you a specific temperature. So the oil right now is almost at 300 degrees. The recipe just says medium heat, and they use chopsticks to demonstrate when you have little tiny bubbles that start appearing. So according to that trick, it's ready. But I think a better trick, if you don't have a thermometer, is to drip a little batter into the oil and see what happens. And it's fizzing up, but what should happen is you just float kind of immediately up to the surface. I suspect not quite hot enough, but did you see how it did puff up after it released? So we're close. Dip it into the batter. Alrighty, and gently away from you into the oil. Mine is immediately sticking to the bottom, which is not what I wanted to do. Oh, that's not what you want it to do. But it is inflating, but it's stuck to the bottom, which is not good. So maybe it's like a pancake. The first one is a failure. Let's continue. So a little thick. So I added about a teaspoon of water. We're about 340 right now. Let's try this again. I'm gonna try to hold it in there without it touching to the bottom to kind of harden the outside. And then drop it in. Okay. Oh, and it did puff. Okay, it's puffing. This is good. But it's not ballooning like in Table Diaries. Table Diaries gets really thin and poofy. This is kind of thick. Let's try a thinner coating. Like kind of wiping it off a little bit. Then dip it in there and kind of let it set a little bit. Okay, there we go. Oh, yes! Yes! Did you see that? It's doing it! What? Okay, at least one of them did it. Okay, this recipe worked. Yeah! Okay, what's the temperature? 375. Okay, this is hot. This is HOT oil. Okay, so your oil needs to be hot. It totally inflates. Oh my God, yes! So excited! Ah! You're supposed to get a spoon and baste this so it gets golden. All right, Table Diary, I doubted you, but you gotta get the oil hot so that it does the poofing action. Dun, 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 dun. So you wanna make sure you baste because it's so filled with air, it's not gonna wanna flip over. Super excited, look at that. It totally puffed. Dip, 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 dip. Get it all over the shrimpy. Wipe off some of the excess. Add it to the oil. And then let it go. Yeah. Totally works. You just have to have your oil hot enough. Balloon action. Self-inflating shrimp. Balloon action. Yeah, 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 it totally works. So it's immediate. It should happen right away, the puffing action. And the trick is getting the oil to the right temperature. All right, I'm gonna keep frying these and then we'll come back and do a taste test. All right, my lovelies, we are back and I'm so excited and pleased that this recipe actually worked. I was a little concerned after the first initial batches when I wasn't getting that immediate puffing action. Then as the oil temperature increased, it worked. So you have to have your oil at a high enough temperature, about 375 to 400 degrees. Now, deep frying is dangerous. So this looks like a lot of fun, but make sure that you have the pan lid nearby. Only fill your pot about halfway with oil. Don't overfill it because it bubbles and spatters. Again, water and oil do not mix. Now, we are going to make the little dipping sauce that Table Diary makes as well. A couple squirts of ketchup and some shakes of Tabasco. I'd say that's about 5 good shakes, and some fresh garlic. So here's one that has puffed beautifully like a balloon. And Table Diary also says that they will deflate soon after frying, which is true. But look at that puff action. Oh my gosh. So excited about that. Here's another cutie pie. Another cutie pie. Here's another giant poofer. And then here are the ones that I did initially. Let's try it without the dipping sauce first. Alrighty, here we go. Itadakimasu. Beautifully cooked shrimp inside, not overcooked. Very, very thin, almost clear shell. And as you heard, not that crispy. Thin, but not like shatteringly crispy at all. A bit of a crunch, but not like a brittle crunch. Delicious flavor. Simply just with the salt and pepper and the flavor of the shrimp. It's absolutely delicious. I was a little bit concerned because there was no salt in the batter, but you certainly don't need it if you season your shrimp well enough. Delicious, perfectly cooked, juicy and tender. Now let's try it with our dipping sauce. Here we go. Oh, that sauce is so good. It's like a cocktail sauce because it has a little bit of a tanginess, sweetness from the ketchup, but the garlic, oh my gosh, this is gonna be my new favorite sauce. And it has a little bit of heat from the Tabasco. Look at that air pocket. Shrimpy inside, smacking delicious, but not crispy. This is not like tempura. Tempura is Japanese style deep fried shrimp or ebi fry. You might find that in Japan as well. Has a nice crackly crunch. This does not. This has kind of a soft crunch. With all the signature flavors of deep fried goodness. Not nutty, just oily deliciousness. Love that flavor. I don't eat fried food too often, but when I do, I really, really enjoy it. But this sauce, if you're not gonna make this recipe, if you're having fish sticks or any kind of deep fried food, even French fries, make this sauce. Nah. Oh, so good. Alrighty, my lovelies. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media. I love hearing from you. This was a viewer suggestion. A few of you came to me saying make this, and I wouldn't have known about this otherwise. So thanks so much for your suggestions, and like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye. All right, I'm off to eat my lunch. Bye.